2 Samuel 15. Sometime later, Absalom managed to acquire a chariot and horses as well as 50 men to serve as his royal guard. Now, Absalom used to get up early and stand by the road that led to the city gate. Whenever anyone came by who had a complaint to bring to the king for arbitration, Absalom would call out to him, "What city are you from?" The person would answer, "I am a servant from one of the tribes of Israel." Absalom would say to him, "Look, your claims are legitimate and appropriate, but there is no representative of the king who will listen to you." Absalom would say, if only they would make me a judge in the land, then everyone who had a judicial complaint could come to me, and I would make sure he receives a just statement. When some approached to bow down before him, Absalom would extend his hand and embrace him and kiss him. Absalom acted this way toward everyone in Israel who came to the king for justice. In this way, Absalom won the loyalty of the citizens of Israel. After 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go and repay my vow that I made to the Lord while I was in Hebron. For I made a vow while I was living in Geshur to Aram. If the Lord really does allow me to return to Jerusalem, I will serve the Lord." The king replied to him, "Go in peace." So Absalom got up and went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent spies through all the tribes of Israel, who said, "When you hear the sound of the horn, you may assume that Absalom rules in Hebron." Now 200 men had gone with Absalom from Jerusalem. Since they were invited, they went naively and were unaware of what Absalom was planning. While he was offering sacrifices, Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's advisor, to come from the holy city, Gilah. The conspiracy was gaining momentum, and the people were starting to side with Absalom. Then a messenger came to David and reported, "The men of Israel are loyal to Absalom." So David said to all his servants who were with him in Jerusalem, "Come on, let's escape. Otherwise, no one will be delivered from Absalom. Go immediately, or else he will quickly overtake us and bring disaster on us and kill the city's residents with the sword." The king's servants replied to the king, "We will do whatever our lord, the king, decides." So the king and all the members of the royal court set out on foot, though the king left behind 10 concubines to attend the palace. The king and all the people set out on foot, pausing at a spot some distance away. All his servants were leaving with him, along with all the Kerethites, all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, some 600 men who had come on foot from Gath. They were leaving with the king. Then the king said to Ittai, the Gittite, "Why should you come back with us? Go back and stay with the new king, for you are a foreigner and an exile from your country. It seems as if if you arrived just yesterday. Today, should I make you wander around by going with us? I go where I must go. But as for you, go back and take your men with you. May genuine loyal love protect you." But Ittai replied to the king, "As surely as the king lives, and as my lord the king lives, wherever the lord the king is, whether it means death or life, there I will be as well." So David said to Ittai, "Come along then." So Ittai the Gittite went along, accompanied by all his men and all the dependents who were with them. All the land was weeping loudly as all the people were leaving. As the king was crossing over the Kidron Valley, all the people were leaving on the road that leads to the desert. Zadok and all the Levites who were with him were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. When they positioned the Ark of God, Abiathar offered sacrifices until all the people had finished leaving the city. Then the king said to Zadok, "Take the Ark of God back to the city. If I find favor in the Lord's sight, he will bring me back and enable me to see both it and his dwelling place again. However, if he should say, I do not take pleasure in you, then he will deal with me in a way that he considers appropriate." The king said to Zadok the priest, "Are you a seer? Go back to the city in peace. Your son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's sons Jonathan may go with you, and Abiathar, look, I will be waiting at the fjords in the desert until word from you reaches me." So Zadok and Abiathar took the Ark of God back to Jerusalem and remained there. As David was going up the Mount of Olives, he was weeping as he went. His head was covered and his feet were bare. All the people who were with him also had heads covered and were weeping as they went. Now David had been told, "Ahithophel has sided with the conspirators who are with Absalom." So David prayed, "Make the advice of Ahithophel foolish, O Lord." When David reached the summit where he used to worship God, Hishui the Archite met him with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. David said to him, if you leave with me, you will be a burden to me, but you will be able to counter the advice of Ahithophel. If you go back to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king. Previously I was your father's servant, and now I will be your servant. Zadok and Abiathar the priest will be there with you. Everything you hear in the king's palace you must tell Zadok and Abiathar, the priests. Furthermore, their 2 sons are there with them, Zadok's son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jonathan. You must send them to me with any information you hear. So David's friend Hushai arrived in the city just as Absalom was entering Jerusalem. So we're moving forward. If you don't remember from our last chapters, Absalom had been in exile for a couple of years. Then there was a trickery that happened to convince the king to let Absalom come back to Jerusalem. The king would not see Absalom when he came back, but he's been living in Jerusalem. So 5 years, including exile, not seeing his father, the king, so in exile, and then in Jerusalem, 5 years. We had that event happen, which there was 2 years before Absalom acted, so 7 years from the incident that caused all of these things to be set in motion. So just giving you that setup, in case you didn't remember all that. So now sometime later, so we're not getting an exact amount here, an appropriate amount of time later, Absalom managed to acquire a chariot and horses, as well as 50 men to serve in his royal guard. So it's a chariot. Weird, he only has one, but it's probably for himself. So he's acquired for himself chariot and horses and 50 men to run ahead of him. So his royal guard, the ones who are to protect him. So these would be things that generals would have or kings would have. So he is now beginning to pump up himself, like as a kingly official. So we have the first inclination of that, the getting soldiers around him and getting a chariot. When anyone came who had a complaint to bring to the king for arbitration, Absalom would call out to them, what city are you from? The person would answer, I am a servant of the tribes of Israel. So it doesn't matter what city he's from. He's from wherever he is in the land. Absalom is going to say, look, your claims are legitimate and appropriate, but there's no representative. There's no representative of the king who will listen to you. That seems faulty to me, Absalom. you're straight up lying to people. There's no, like, your claims are legit, but nobody will listen to you. If only they'd make me judge in the land, then everyone would have his judicial complaint come to me, and I would make sure he receives a just statement. So, but it doesn't actually tell us if Absalom is actually doing anything. So is Absalom doing anything more than setting himself up and turning people away? So if he's turning people away, saying there's nobody in there that's going to listen to you, I believe you got a case, but you're not going to get a fair hearing in there. You'll just have to go home with no justice. But if they'd make me, I'd give you justice. Seems to me I might go try anyway. Why would I listen to Absalom? I mean, yeah, he's the king's son, but the king's got plenty of sons. And I would think, the king to be a just and fair man. I might not listen to Absalom. I might go see for himself. But what it appears from it is he is persuading people that you're not going to get a fair settlement. If I were in power, I'd give you a fair settlement. You're just going to have to go home empty-handed. That's what it sounds like. It doesn't say that he then settles the case for them. He then, out of his own accord, makes things right. He could be doing that. It does not tell us what he does other than tell them this fabrication he has decided is going to gain him persuasive power over the people. When someone would approach and bow before Absalom, he would extend his hand and embrace him and kiss him. So he's acting as if he's king. Absalom acted this way toward everyone in Israel who came to the king for justice. In this way, Absalom won the loyalty of the citizens of Israel. So winning the loyalty seems like he might be actually settling their cases. He just makes the claim. It doesn't tell us what he actually does. So maybe it wasn't always doing it. Maybe he's gaining the ability to do it. Anyway, we have that. After 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go and repay my vow that I made to the Lord while I was in Hebron." So I thought the king would not see him. Now he is able to go and be before the king. So it's been 9 years since Absalom's rebellion initiated, or I should say it wasn't a rebellion, since he acted against his brother and murdered his brother. It's been 9 years since then. 11 years since the event his brother perpetrated. You can imagine tempers have cooled. So he goes to the king. The king says, yes, you made a vow while you were in Gershom in Aram. If the Lord really does allow me to return to Jerusalem, I will serve the Lord. The king replied, go in peace. So Absalom got up and went to Hebron. Okay, if you made this vow while you were living there, why have you waited 7 years to go fulfill the vow? I'm curious. Why'd you wait so long? Why didn't you do this sooner? Why has it taken so long to go do this? But maybe there was more to it. Maybe he said, I would, a time. Maybe he's more convincing. It doesn't give us all that. Why king believes him, I'm not sure. But maybe David does tend to believe the best of people. So maybe that's all it is. Then Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel. When you hear the sound of the horn, you may assume that Absalom rules in Hebron. So his spies are going throughout all the land, saying if you hear the horn in Hebron, you can assume Absalom rules. So when a message comes from Hebron saying this, you already know. So he has been sowing seeds of rebellion for 4 years, gaining people over to his side from throughout the entire land. And so now he's going to take action upon it. Now 200 men had gone with Absalom from Jerusalem. Since they were invited, they went naively and were unaware of what Absalom was planning. So he has 200 men who don't understand what's going along. They did not know anything. So they don't know his plan. They've been invited to the sacrifice. He's brought them along. It doesn't mean that they're not going to decide to side with Absalom. It just means they didn't know Absalom's plan. While he was offering sacrifices, Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's advisor, to come from the holy city of Gilo. The conspiracy was gaining momentum, and the people were starting to side with Absalom. Okay, what do we have? Gilo here. Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, the advisor from the city of Gilo, where he was sacrificing. It is not entirely clear who Absalom or Ahithophel was offering who was offering the sacrifice. So we don't know who's offering. Is Ahithophel the one doing the sacrifice? Let's go look up Ahithophel, though. So we're in 2 Samuel 15. What verse were we in? Verse 12. Ahithophel. So Ahithophel means my brother is foolish. Do you think this is his real name? Do you think this is his real name? Or is this a play on who he is, that he is being foolish? Or is Ahithophel's name a reference to Absalom being foolish? This is one of the, this is the fun. Look up these names. They mean something. So Absalom sent for my brother is foolish, the Gileadite, David's advisor, to come from the holy city. So he's sending for one of his fellow conspirators whose name is my brother is foolish. Absalom, that's you, buddy. That's you. Then the messenger came to David and reported, the men of Israel are loyal to Absalom. Okay, so now word comes, the men of Israel. So to me, I'm wondering, why does David flee the city? But he is told the men of Israel. So this is going to be all of the people that could be called to the army. This is what it sounds like. The ones whose sons could be called into the army. It says the men of Israel. Like, okay, it sounds like everybody. Yeah, tomorrow. It's like I'm with stupid t-shirt. Yes, it's exactly it. Tomorrow, that is so fantastic. Put that on a t-shirt. Just put it a t-shirt that says Ahithophel with an arrow. I want the t-shirt that just says Ahithophel and an arrow pointing to the side. I might need to design that. I'm gonna write that down. I love that idea. Ahithophel and an arrow. Ahithophel arrow. That'd be a sweet t-shirt. All right, let's get back to the text. So David said to his servants who were with him, come on, let's escape. Otherwise, no one will be delivered from Absalom. So, one of the things that is, I really question, why does David flee? And I say that because we see throughout history that Jerusalem is a very fortified city. Jerusalem takes a lot in order for it to be destroyed, it to be conquered. Why doesn't David just fortify the city, fortify all of his men? Why doesn't he call up the army at this point? Why does David instead flee the city? I have to believe, one, he doesn't want to fight his son. So he is willing to abdicate the throne and let it play out, which most people would not. So David at certain times will not take action. It never really fully, like here, it doesn't really give it to other places. I will not strike the Lord's anointed. We know why he won't attack Saul directly. He will defend himself against the army that Saul sends him, but he goes and hides. So David is going back into this mode of going to flee and hide from the aggressor who is coming at him unjustly. I believe that's what it is. He is going back to this is an unjust provocation. I'm going to flee. Now, but I still think David could have fortified the city, could have protected himself, could have, while everybody was with Absalom trying to come against the king, could have persuaded them this isn't the right thing to do. But David doesn't choose to. So, what am I going to say? This is what we have. This is what happened. Okay. So he begins his process of leaving. So he says, come on, we're going to escape. Disaster is going to kill the city's residents with the sword. So in some ways, he is sparing the city's residents. The king's servants replied, we will do whatever our lord the king decides. So they are ready to do whatever the king issues is the way to go do things. So the king sets out with all the members of his royal court. They set out on foot, although he left behind 10 concubines to attend the palace. So we know he has 8 wives. We don't know if he has more, but we have them by name mentioned. And now he has 10 concubines that are left behind. How many does he take with? Don't know. Maybe he just takes the wives with. He leaves the concubines. Anyway, they will play prominent in the story in just a little while. All right, so 10 concubines left in the city. Don't know how many he has total. It never really gives us that number. Let me see here. Women concubines. So he left 10 women concubines. Yeah, so they just left out the word for women there because it's redundant in English. But the reason he leaves them is to attend the palace. So they are making sure that the palace is cared for. So he's leaving some servants who are there. The ones he's choosing to leave are the concubines. Maybe there's a few other attendants, but they're making a point of it because, like I said, the concubines will show up later in the story. The king and all the people set out on foot, pausing at a spot some distance away. All the servants were leaving with him, along with the Kerethites, all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, some 600 men who had come on foot from Gath. They were leaving with the king. So he has a 600 men army here. We only had, to begin with, that 200 men went with Absalom. So here it seems like the king has more numbers. I'm waiting for and watching for how many people actually show up with Absalom. When Absalom comes to the city, what number does he have? Would the king have actually been able to defend the city? I still think he could have. The king has other motivations to not fight his son, not to even just close the doors up and say, hey, we can negotiate this. Which might have ended up with better situation, I'm thinking, but I might be wrong. I might be reading this all wrong, and there might be stuff left out of the telling of the story. So then the king said to Attai the Gittite, why should you come with us? Go back and stay with the new king. You're a foreigner and in exile from your own country. You've just arrived yesterday, so why would you wander with us? Go and protect God, or protect you. Go back. And Ahita replies the king, nope, I'm coming with you. My men are coming with you. I'm loyal to you. I will go wherever you go. I'm going to be with you. So I'm going to go look up Attai, because now we have someone who is with the king. What does his name mean? So verse 21. 21. All right. So his name means with me. So Attai, with me. So he's with him. And going to be staying with him. You can't you can't send Attai away. It's with me. It can't get rid of Attai. It's with me. So anyway, I'm watching. Good morning. Still slowly waking up from yesterday. So you'll be half-ish awake. Half sleep company today. You'll try the... Oh yeah, thank you for the raid. Yeah, absolutely. I love being able to raid you when that works out. And I love you organizing those raids. And appreciate when I'm able to be a part of them. So absolutely. Love that you keep doing that. Keep doing it. Keep putting those together. I think they're fantastic. Even when I don't come for the whole thing or don't stay, I still think that they are a great thing to be able to do. So, but Attai replied to the king, I'm coming with you. Okay, we got through that. And all of his company went along. All the land was weeping loudly as all the people were leaving. Okay, is this all the land, meaning all the land of Israel, or is this Jerusalem? I think we're just thinking Jerusalem, but it is giving the whole, well, wait a minute, I thought that Israel was coming to Absalom, so why is the land weeping? Anyway, Jerusalem certainly would be. All the people are leaving. The king is crossing over the Kidron Valley. All the people were leaving on the roads that leads to the desert. Zadok and all the Levites who were with him were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. They positioned the Ark of God. Abiathar offered sacrifices until the people had finished leaving the city. So they get outside of the city. They're across the Kidron Valley. We're going to learn in a minute. They're by the Mount of Olives. So they're outside the city. They bring the Ark of the Covenant with them. They're coming out. They're offering sacrifices. Here we know it is the priest who is offering sacrifices. The Levites are with them. The people are all leaving. They're offering sacrifices as the people are leaving. So we have all of those things going on. So it appears that, the Ark is going to go with. And the king is bringing it along to bless the people, but perhaps he's bringing it along to join us in military conquest. Maybe that's what's going on. Oops. So the king says to Zadok, take the Ark of God back to the city. If I find favor in the Lord's sight, he will bring me back and enable me to see both and its dwelling place. However, if he doesn't, I do not take pleasure in you, and he doesn't bring me that way, he'll do whatever he considers appropriate. So now I think we see part of why David is not taking action here. He sees this as part of God's continued judgment on him, because remember, when he did the thing that he did with Bathsheba and Uriah, Nathan the prophet came and said that the sword will not leave your house. So the sword is now rising up in his house. So it is now there coming to him, and he is saying, this is God taking action. I will not stand in the way of God's action. I am going to leave, and whatever is appropriate will happen. But he also isn't taking the Ark of God with him as if to try and manipulate God in this situation. No, the Ark's dwelling place is the Ark's dwelling place. You send the Ark back. If God is pleased with me, he will return me here. So the king said to Zadok the priest, are you a seer? This is an interesting question. Would he not already know this? Why is he asking it here? Greek tradition understands the Hebrew word as the imperative see. Most Greeks have edit, the lucinic. I said that wrong. Lucinic reception has blepe. It could just as well be taken as a question. Don't you see what is happening? Yeah, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Yes. Aren't you understanding? Okay, we could have that way. The present translation takes the word as a question with the implication that Zadok is a priest and not a prophet, a seer, and therefore unable to know what the future holds. Oh, so it's a negative question. He says to the priest, are you a seer? Meaning, no, you're not a prophet. So go back to the city in peace. You're a priest. You belong here. Okay, I was taking that question the other way. Like, don't you know if he is or not? As opposed to the negative. You're not a prophet. You can't see the future. You need to just go back. You don't know what's going to happen to the Ark. We don't want the Ark involved in any of this. Take the Ark back. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So now I'm getting it. Okay. Your son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jonathan may go with you, and Abiathar, so Abiathar's going, your son's going, Jonathan's going. We'll be waiting at the fjords in the desert until word from you reaches me. So he tells him where he's hiding out. So they bring the Ark, and they go back, and they remain in Jerusalem. As David was going up the Mount of Olives, he was weeping as he went. His head was covered, and his feet were bare. So he's going around barefoot here. He is weeping in sackcloth and ashes, and he's not even having the comfort of shoes on his feet. All the people who were with him also had their heads covered and were weeping as they went. David had been told, Ahithophel has sided with the conspirators. My brother is foolish, has sided with the conspirators who are with Absalom. So David prayed, make the advice of my brother is foolish, foolish, O Lord. Make the advice of my brother is foolish, have foolish advice. when David reached the summit where he used to worship God, Hushai, the Archite, met him with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. David said to him, "If you leave with me, you will be a burden, but you will be able to counter the advice of Ahithophel if you go back to the city." So David sending priests back to the city to be able to know where he is, to send word. Now he's going to send Hushai, the Archite, back to the city to pledge loyalty to his son, to be a spy. So David is setting up spies so that he knows and understands what's going on. So let's see what Hushai means. Verse 32. I'm not going to bother to listen to his name. I just want to know if it tells us more about him. That's more what I'm wondering. What his name means and who he is. Hasting, an Archite, a friend of David, the father of Baanah, and an officer of Solomon, probably the same as one. Okay, so there is an officer of Solomon, the father of Baanah, who could be the same. Where do we have this used? Okay, this is the first time he shows up. So we don't know anything about him. That's what I wanted to know. Do we know anything about him? No, we don't know anything about him. So why David is saying, who was, why he is sending him back, saying you'll be a burden to me. Don't know why he's saying he'll be a burden. Maybe something later on in the story will reveal why he thinks he's a burden. So he sends to him, go back to the city. When Absalom comes, say you were a servant of the previous king. I was your father's servant, and I will serve you. Zadok and Abiathar, the priest, will be there with you. Everything you hear in the king's palace, report to them. They will report to me, and we will find out what's going on. So David's friend, Hushai, arrived in the city just as Absalom was entering Jerusalem. So he's at the Mount of Olives. He's sending him back. He's arriving just as Absalom is entering Jerusalem. So the city puts up no resistance. He has people placed in the city. The priest know where he is, know to get word to him. Now he has Hushai, who is there, who is going to get word to him. He has some concubines who are there. Absalom has now entered the city. It doesn't tell us how many forces he has, but he didn't have to take it by force because David just abandoned the city.